Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Friday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Russ has the night off. Emotions running high inside the walls of the Yellowstone County Courthouse today as a packed courtroom watched a 2 decades-old cold case come to an end. Jessica Fair, the judge, hands down a 3-time life sentence to the man who viciously murdered 18-year-old Miranda Fenner back in 1998. Now, the Miranda Fenner case put the small community of Laurel in the national spotlight after the trail to find her killer went cold, and the suspect spent years completely unknown to investigators. But prosecutors called today a day of reckoning for 39-year-old Zachary O'Neill. Q2's Andrea Lutz was in the courtroom this morning where the Fenner family addressed O'Neill, explicitly telling him he's not forgiven.
Stiff words in court for Zachary O'Neill.
You are a vicious monster.
I'd like to wish you heartache and misery.
The man responsible for the brutal murder of a young Miranda Fenner. He appeared in court not in a jail-issued jumpsuit, but instead in slacks and a collared shirt, but still shackled.
It's a day of reckoning for a vicious monster.
The state asking that O'Neill be permanently removed from society, and the Fenner family making it clear forgiveness will not be extended to Zachary O'Neill.
You, Zach O'Neill, deserve every horrible thing that comes your way. There is no forgiveness in my soul and no remorse for my thoughts.
Miranda's dad crippled with grief and emotion on the stand, while pictures of his girl play out on the monitors of the courtroom.
You ruined my life, you ruined my son's life.
But also in court, those pleading for O'Neill too. His dad and sister, and his pastor, who says Zach is now doing God's work in jail.
I know that Zach's life has changed. He is sharing those changes with others in jail.
And his defense attorney saying she's proud O'Neill had the courage to come forward and confess.
But he never wavered. He did not walk back his story, he added to it.
3 life sentences for Fenner's life and the attempted murder and rape of another woman, something Judge Jessica Fair said Billings and Laurel can never forget.
It robbed you of all of the things that Miranda would have done in the 20 years since her murder.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
O'Neill will be designated as a level 3 high-risk violent sexual offender, which means he will not benefit from treatment. And Andrea also tells us that O'Neill is eligible for parole under this current sentencing after 30 years. Well, a win for the Keystone XL pipeline developers at the Nebraska Supreme Court today. The court affirmed the approval of the route through Nebraska, one of the final hurdles for TC Energy. The pipeline was first proposed more than 10 years ago and, if built, would deliver oil from Alberta, Canada through eastern Montana and eventually to a hub in Nebraska. But opponents vow this fight is not over. Conservation groups like the Sierra Club expressed disappointment in today's ruling, but said it will continue to oppose the construction. TC Energy, formerly known as TransCanada, has already said it will miss the 2019 construction season. Well, the aftermath obvious after last night's storm barreled through Billings and surrounding communities. Q2's Zoe Zandora has the latest on that damage and the power outages that left thousands in the dark.
Leaves, debris, broken trees, a common theme in Billings and the surrounding areas after the storm hit around 6:45 on Thursday night, causing large trees to fall into power lines, breaking 2 poles and damaging wire. According to Northwestern Energy, about 2,000 people lost power, especially up here in the Heights in Billings. Now, Hardin and Columbus crews working with Billings crews overnight to restore that power. At around 5:30 a.m., they were able to restore most people's power. Yellowstone Valley Electric worked overnight in Shepherd and in the Blue Creek area to restore their power. In Billings, Zoe Zandora, MTN News.
Thanks so much, Zoe. Now, Bob, that storm moved in fast and didn't stick around very long, but it did cause a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah, it was a nightmare. And of course, we knew it was going to be a wild night last night because we knew our thunderstorm outlook said we were going to probably see basically severe thunderstorms in much of south central and eastern Montana last night. So here's the way the storm looked on the Doppler radar at 6:30 last night. You'll notice it didn't look that bad. It was kind of benign. So then all of a sudden the storm moves into the warm moist air here in Yellowstone County, and then by about 6:45 it starts making its way into the Billings area. Then by about 7 o'clock, look at this, it just really starts getting big, and you see the hail already starting to develop. And now we're starting to see heavy showers and thunderstorms by 7:02, and then by the time 7:30 gets here, the whole storm continues to just really start making its way across much of the northern heights. Even had a couple of rotation clouds, maybe a possibility of a couple of funnel clouds starting to begin in that area. And so that's the way things were shaping up. Then as far as the hail tracks, take a look at this. This is the way it looked. The hail track went right through the heights and right on in towards Shepherd. Some of the bigger hailstones ranged anywhere from about ping pong ball size hail all the way down to about maybe pea size hail across the region. So it was a wild and woolly night last night. Tonight, maybe not quite as bad. We do have a thunderstorm watch across northern Wyoming. We'll talk more about that in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, if last night's late in the season thunderstorm has you wondering what the coming winter will look like, we may have some answers for you. Q2's Rob Griggs gives us a sneak peek of the newly released 2020 Old Farmer's Almanac.
So the prognosticators of the Almanac have been using the same theory that was created 230 years ago by Robert Thomas, the founder. Now, they also use modern science and meteorology to come up with what they claim is an 80.5% accuracy rating. The 2020 Old Farmer's Almanac is warning that this coming winter, there's going to be a parade of snowstorms. Yes, transforming the landscape with no fewer than 7 big snowstorms. Now, these storms are expected to pummel the northern states from Washington all the way east into Michigan. Interestingly, the Farmer's Almanac is claiming that this coming winter is going to be just like last winter. Okay, fair enough. But how did the Old Farmer's Almanac do with last winter's forecast? In Montana and Wyoming, warm and dry out east, somewhat snowy out west? No, not really. And February is what really messed up the numbers for last winter. Last February, 21 inches of snow in Billings. That's 4 times the average. And the average daily temperature in February was 12 degrees. That's colder than the average low in February. So for our neck of the woods anyway, this weathercaster gives last winter's Old Farmer's Almanac a D. And I think that's really being generous. So in eastern Montana and northern Wyoming, there really are 2 schools of thought about the Old Farmer's Almanac. Some believe it's the good word. Others, not so much. As for me, my money's still on Bob McGuire. In Billings, Rob Griggs, MTN News.
All right, thanks so much, Rob. Well, your primary and school election ballots are in the mail. The Yellowstone County Elections Office sent out nearly 50,000 ballots today. Nearly 47,000 of those